Hello, I'm Annabelle.
Hello there, my name's Rob and we work at Confection Perfection.
Today we're going to show you a range of ideas on how to bake and decorate cakes.
Okay, today we're going to be making cherry pie. Ingredients I've got are 1 large tin or 2 medium-sized tins of pitted cherries, 150 grams of sugar. I've got a 300 gram block of short crust pastry, and I've also got 3 large Bramley apples. Firstly, I'm going to peel the apples. And then cut them up into quite large chunks. I'm just using a cake tin here, but you can just use a baking tray as long as it's got sides to it to hold the apple together. And once these are all cut up and put into the dish, put in your 150 grams of sugar, and then they can go in the oven at 190 degrees for 20 minutes. And now it's time to line our tin ready for our cherry pie. I'm using here a 6-inch springform tin which I've liberally greased with butter. Make sure you're getting right in the edges. And now I'm going to roll out my pastry. I've made a block about 300 grams of cinnamon pastry here just to complement the apple and the cherry pie. Just a light dusting of flour on our surface. And then just lightly roll out the pastry. Not too heavy, making sure that you're turning it all the time, that it's not sticking, and always rolling away from yourself and towards yourself, not at an angle, to keep the shape nice and even. Turn it over if you need to. Use as little flour as possible, you don't need to be putting lots and lots on there. If you keep moving it, you can check that whether it's stuck or not. Okay, it should be about the right size to cover the tin. Just give it a little dust, make sure it doesn't stick. And then a nice little trick if you're actually lining a deep tin like this is to fold the pastry into a square and then to a parcel like so. Pop the pastry in and then basically just unfold it. And then just lightly using the tips of your fingers, I'm just going to work the pastry into the corners, not forcing it down, just taking the slack with the other hand and gently pushing into the corners. And then we can trim off some of the excess, not all of it. Use a knife, a pair of scissors is just as easy. Just make a little ball with this that's left over. Don't work it too much, just bringing it together. I was just again going to develop the glutens in the flour, make it all elasticy. Now here's my apple which I've cooked for 20 minutes. It started to break down a little bit but still has some body left to it. When I'm making the cherry pie, I like to do it with apple just to add some substance to the pie. In go the cherries. Then this can go into the pie dish. I'm just going to roll out this spare piece of dough. To a long strip. And then I'm going to cut some strips. At home you can use a knife, but I'm just going to use this lateral wheel cutter just for ease of use. And take some water, wet around the edges. And then lay the pieces of pastry over the top, like so. I prefer to do a lattice shape on the top. This just helps let the steam escape from the pie and ensures that the pastry stays nice and crispy. And then we can just wet the top of these. And then we'll just dust this with some caster sugar. And then this can go in the oven at 200 degrees for 30 minutes and then turn it down to 140 degrees for another 30 minutes. Okay, now the cherry pie's come out of the oven, it's cooled down, you can see it's a nice golden colour, and I've also glazed it with a little bit of water and sugar brought to the boil, a bit of stock syrup, and gives it a nice shine. That's it finished.